Really quickly, I just want to talk about the 9070 and 9070 XT. I feel like there's a lot of interesting takes going on right now on the internet, and I don't agree with a lot of those. So I just wanted to make a fun little video here to look back on in a couple days. It is currently February 25th, and the cards are going to officially be announced on the 28th. So we'll get set in stone price data, and we'll get a little bit more concrete performance data. Let's set the scene, because really the main thing with these cards is price. We basically know at this point that it is going to fall around this area. It's going to be somewhere between a 4080, a 5070 Ti, a 4080 Super, a 7900 XTX. It is going to be somewhere in this zone here, this tight group. There's been leaks that have come out since January that it was showing this level of performance, and recently we had this big video cards leak from their own internal sources. They sourced this document, and it was showing that it is approximately in non-ray traced games 30 to like 35-40% faster than a 7900 GRE. If you look at the 7900 GRE, which is right here, and you do plus 35-40%, well, what do you know? It puts you right here in this group. Also, there are significant ray tracing gains, which they had claimed in some other slides that were supposed to be released when it was going to come out in January. And look at this, it's going to be 60%, 50%, 45% faster than a 7900 GRE. So ray tracing may also as well be very, very close to the 5070 Ti. But let's look at what Nvidia is doing. So we know the performance is going to be on par, trade blows with the 5070 Ti. That's not the full story, because you have to consider what is happening with Nvidia right now. Honestly, I'm going to say it, this is probably the worst graphics card launch from Nvidia like almost ever, in my opinion. We've had so many issues with these cards, and every single day I wake up and I open my phone and there's another new issue. That's what it feels like at this point. We have had missing performance in the form of missing ROPs on the 5070 and 5090, and now it's confirmed that some 5080s as well are also missing potentially like 10% of the performance, 8-10%, which on a generation that is already giving us a really bad generational uplift, that's a big thing to consider. That really stings. We have 5090 connectors that are still melting within a month of the cards being released. Imagine how this is going to be a year, 2 years down the line. They knew this was a problem with the 4090, and they just increased the power of the 5090 and shipped the card. We've had a few driver issues with black screens and crashes. I think that's mostly fixed, but I was talking to some people that were still having those issues, and other smaller things like PhysX support, which sucks. You know, it wasn't disclosed. It was quietly done, and that just doesn't feel nice. That your brand new graphics card, you have to turn down settings in games that came out in like 2009. And on top of that, of course, we have the terrible stock. The stock is just not there. The 4090, 4080 stock was pretty decent when it came out. This is something completely different that we have not seen since like the chip shortage days of 2020 and like 2021. Even the 5070 Ti is completely sold out everywhere, even at these inflated prices of $900,000, $800 plus, when this card is supposed to be $750. Even assuming tariffs, 10%, 750 plus 10% is not 900 plus. I'm just saying. So with now the performance of the 9070 cards in mind, what Nvidia is doing and going through in mind, let's talk about what I think the price should/would have to be, given all of these factors. A lot of people online are saying it has to be 500, it has to be 550. I think that if they could price this card at $650 for the 9070 XT, that would be a price that would be extremely attractive. It would get more importantly, very rave reviews out of the gate, which I think is an important thing that they really need. And I think they would sell a lot of those cards at that price. I think that if you ask them to go any lower, like to 600 or even like 550, I think that's a lot. Because keep in mind, I mean, this is 4080 Super Performance, 7900 XTX Performance. From generation to generation, you're saying the same performance, but like half the price. I think that is just not possible or feasible, especially when the company is, it's a publicly traded company. You can't just ask a publicly traded company, hey, make no money for this generation. Just don't. I think a lot of people out there saying that these cards need to be like $1 is just not going to happen. And I don't think it necessarily needs to be, considering all those things that I just said. If stock is decent, which I think it will be because these cards have been kind of stockpiled since early January, they were already ready to do a launch in late January. So, I mean, if you can imagine, basically they've been hoarding all these cards for an extra month, actually over that now, because the cards will allegedly actually be available for sale in early March. I think that if they can hit that price point of 650, this will be a good generation for AMD. It will get a lot of people with their foot in the door, and it'll be happy days. But we'll see in a couple days here. This is just a video to look back on and see how it went.